Okay, so a lot of people always like to fan the flames that Fairy Tail is the worst, most abomination of a series of all time. And I kind of wanted to pose the question and give my 2 cents on, is Fairy Tail the worst series of all time, or at the very least worst shonen of all time, when it comes to just being a story and all of that jazz? Because Fairy Tail, yes, it definitely is far from being up there with any of the greats or series that really have a lot of recognition in terms of story writing. Fairy Tail does have a lot of really awesome moments, but we know that it is definitely one of the lesser light series when it comes to just people who really have a lot of distaste for it. I myself have criticized it on so many occasions because of the things that it does, and it's definitely been one of the cases where my biggest gripe with Fairy Tail has always been the disappointment that it brings forth, because it'll build up, or it has built up, obviously it's over now, but it would build up like, incredible moments or really awesome seeming fights, and you'd be really, ecstatic, like, yo, this is about to be lit, we have this awesome character like Aloxus or whatever, and then the outcome would always be that, oh, they win because they're angry that they want to protect their friends. So Fairy Tail definitely got a bad rep, but does that make it the worst series ever? I mean, I've read and watched a lot of anime and manga, I've seen a lot of different series, so I feel as though I have a little bit more insight than the average person that maybe they've only seen, like, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, and Fairy Tail, or My Hero Academia, Naruto, and Fairy Tail, stuff like that. So I have a little bit of insight in terms of like other series that people may not know about. And I gotta say right here up front that in terms of comparing it to other series or whatever, there are series that are a lot worse than Fairy Tail, and it's definitely not the worst of all time. I can name series that are probably just as bad or creeping up on as bad as Fairy Tail, or have just had a lot of problematic aspects similar to Fairy Tail, or just in general they had their own problems, where it's like, yeah, that series has its problems. I mean, for starters, there was a rip-off of Fairy Tail called Buster Kill, and I don't really like to talk about it, which, funny enough, I think the author of Buster Kill is actually working on a Fairy Tail spinoff as well. Kind of funny there, but that series alone, I've read just, series that really bring forth, and one that comes to mind in particular, which I have my ups and downs with it. I've seen every single episode of it. I finished it all off. It was, I think I want to say 170 something of the original series, and then they did the wrap-up of like 25 more episodes. Inuyasha, for example. Inuyasha, that was a series that I was really into at first, and then I started noticing a pattern where it was like, oh, we gotta get Naraku. We almost got him. Naraku's right there. Oh, Naraku got away. And then towards the end, the reveal of the Shikon Jewel and some of the aspects surrounding that, because it was built up that the Shikon Jewel was this thing that it could grant a wish or whatever, and there was just a lot of problematic issues with Inuyasha. I think one of the things that separates it is we have a couple of different like generations of fandoms now. Obviously we have the old heads that they were like, I'm in the 80s, I was buying Betamax tapes for $1,000 to get half of a subtitled episode of Gundam whatever and stuff like that. But Inuyasha came at a time and ended at a time just before the newer age of shonen, where like, we had, well, obviously now, like, My Hero Academia is way after Inuyasha, but even when Naruto reached its heights of popularity and all these other ones, and I think Inuyasha, again, not to pick on it too much or whatever, because I know I'm making a real big example out of it, but it definitely came before a lot of these other series, and its popularity kind of fizzled out when the rest of them started uprising. So the series that had problems, and not just Inuyasha, there's others, of course, that were problematic, or they didn't even last that long. I mean, you got to take into account how many series in Shonen Jump that maybe lasted 40 chapters, 30 chapters, and got canned, and they really weren't all that good to begin with. So, what I'm saying, like an Inuyasha or whatever, or the series that from back in the day were popular and fizzled out, a lot of people don't really remember them, or they're not familiar with them because they got into anime after they ended. So to say that Fairy Tail is the worst series of all time, it's terrible, whatever, you can say it's terrible or whatever, but to say it's the worst series ever, you would have had to read and watch a lot of manga and anime, and I can tell you right now that I don't think Fairy Tail is the worst. I think, if anything, I would argue that it is one of the most disappointing, because Fairy Tail is another example of wasted potential. There were so many amazing moments that could have really been capitalized and made Fairy Tail be up there with the big dogs in terms of respect, and it kind of always blew those chances. So is Fairy Tail the worst series of all time? I definitely would disagree on that. that, I would say, you could argue, yeah, it's bad, or, you could say it's terrible. I wouldn't even say, honestly, that it's terrible, because, again, there's a lot of really awesome moments in Fairy Tail, but it's definitely nothing close to being of, like, a quality shonen where the writing is tight. No, definitely not. Kind of curious what you guys think, though. Again, do you think Fairy Tail's the worst? If not, name some examples of some other series that you feel as though had big problematic issues that put it on that level or beyond. Or if you do think that Fairy Tail is not even close to being one of the worst, it's a great series, let me know why. But that's all I have for this quick one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, stalk my Facebook, follow me on Twitch, and hit the bell to get all notifications to watch my videos. I'm Fineb World, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Bow. Have an awesome day. Make a major move, laugh and let the haters lose. We don't give a fuck, virginity intact, cream stack. Paper rules, if you heard it, best believe that. But now it's whatever, one day I'll be your favorite, but never. No matter how you